So be honest, have you ever set big, exciting goals for your side projects only to watch it fizzle out within weeks just because life, work, and exhaustion got in the way? Most working women make the same mistakes when it comes to goal setting. And these are mistakes that always keep them in a cycle of inconsistency, overwhelm, and always feeling behind. But here's the good news. Once you know what those mistakes are and how to avoid them, you can finally set goals that actually stick even with a packed 9-to-5 schedule. So in this video, I'm going to break down the top 5 goal setting mistakes that I see over and over again and give you simple fixes that will help you make progress in your creative side project goals and personal goals without burning out. Because this is a mistake that quietly sabotages almost every single ambitious working woman that I work with. Hello there, my name is Laura and I help working women find the time to build their creative side projects and personal goals without burning out. Now, whether you've been stuck in a cycle of over planning, inconsistency, or feeling like you're always behind, this video will help you reset with clarity and confidence. Now, the first mistake is setting unrealistic and overly ambitious goals. So you finish your full-time job, you're so excited about your new side project idea, and then you say to yourself, I'm going to post on Instagram every single day, or I'm going to launch a website in a month, or I'm going to start a podcast, a YouTube channel, I'm going to hit 5K in sales by the end of the month. Well, the problem with setting goals that are way too big way too soon is you do not account for the actual time and energy you have realistically. So after a long work day, life happens. You have emails, family, you have laundry, and when you cannot keep up with those ambitious plans, you don't only fall behind, you feel like a failure. Now that guilt and discouragement is what causes people to either quit or just give up before they make any real progress. So here's the truth. Big goals are not necessarily the problem. Right? The timelines and the expectations are. Now, instead of asking, how can I get there in a month? Try asking, what consistent progress can I realistically make in the next 3 months? For example, instead of committing to launch your business next month, focus on creating one clear deliverable every single week. Now, maybe that's setting up your domain or writing your about page for your website and then outlining your first product or service, because small, realistic wins builds momentum. And momentum, not massive leaps, is what actually gets you to the finish line. Now, the second mistake is not connecting your goals to your why. Have you ever worked so hard on your goals only to realize halfway through that you did not really care about it in the first place? Yeah, that actually sucks. And that has been me, right? Like chasing a goal that feels urgent instead of a goal that actually aligns with your deeper why. So here's what I mean. Maybe you see someone on Instagram launching a new course, and so suddenly you feel like, okay, maybe I need to launch a course too. Or your coworker is building a YouTube channel, and so now you feel like you should start one even though video is really not your thing, right? So these reactive goals do not come from your vision. They come from comparison, urgency, and FOMO, which is fear of missing out. Here's the truth. When your goals are not rooted to why they matter to you, it is almost impossible to stay consistent when things get hard. You lose motivation the moment life gets busy because the goal really doesn't have a deeper meaning behind it. So instead, you need to ask, why does this goal actually matter to me? What does achieving it give me long term? So for example, don't just say I want to post 3 times a week on social media. Instead, you want to say I want to post 3 times a week because building an audience is the first step to leaving my full-time job and creating time freedom for myself. So when your goals are tied to your why, they stop being just another task on your to-do list. They become a commitment to your bigger vision. And that connection is what's going to help you continue to push through the long work days, the exertion, and all the setbacks. Now here's the thing. Connecting your goals to your why sounds simple, but when you're juggling a full-time job, a side hustle, your personal goals, and 100 other responsibilities, it's not always easy for you to figure out what truly matters and what's just noise. And that is why I help ambitious women like you create clarity around your goals, build realistic systems, and finally make consistent progress without burning out. And that is why my clients, when they sign up for my program, they start seeing results as early as after a week. And this is verbatim from one of my clients. Everything is practical and easy to apply. And I started seeing results as early as 1 week. So if you've been listening and thinking this is actually what I need, I'd love to invite you to book a free clarity call with me. On the call, we're going to get really clear on what is keeping you stuck. And then we're going to map out next steps and see if my program can help you move from overwhelmed to organized towards you achieving your goals and building your creative side project. So the link is in the description box and the comment section below, and you can grab a spot. Do not wait, because your future self is going to thank you for starting today. Now, the third mistake is ignoring the 80-20 rule, which causes lack of clarity in priorities. So not all tasks are created equal, right? When you're juggling a full-time job, a creative side project, family responsibilities, and personal goals, it is so easy to treat everything like it's urgent. You end up spending hours tweaking your website colors, perfecting your logo, or reorganizing your Notion dashboard, while the things or the tasks that actually move your projects forward get sent into the someday bucket. And that is where the 80-20 rule comes in. The idea is simple, right? 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. The issue is most people do not take the time to really figure out what that 20% actually is. When you lack clarity on priorities, your time gets eaten up by busy work instead of impact work. And since your time is already limited, this is a fast track to burnout with very little progress to show for it. So here's a simple reframe. Ask yourself, if I only had 2 hours this week to dedicate towards my goals, towards my side project, what will I spend it on to create the biggest impact? Chances are it is not the Canva graphics. It is things like maybe reaching out to potential clients, creating content in order to build an audience, or developing the product or service that you're actually selling. Now, when you align your goals to the 80-20 rule, suddenly your to-do list gets lighter, your progress gets faster, and you stop feeling like you're always behind. And this is because you're no longer trying to do all the things, right? You are focusing on doing just the right things. Now, mistake number 4 is not breaking your goals down into mini milestones. So this one is huge, right? And this is one of the things that really causes people to give up way too easily. You set up this big, exciting vision like, I am going to launch my business this year, or it might be a personal goal like, I am going to learn piano this year. And while all of that sounds amazing, the truth is it's too vague and it's overwhelming. Your brain doesn't know where to start, so you either procrastinate or you hustle in circles without making progress. So big goals without milestones is like starting up at a mountain with no trail markers. You know where you want to go, but the path feels so intimidating that you get stuck at the bottom. Now, here's the fix. Break your goals down into small, realistic checkpoints. And these are milestones you can actually hit in a week or a month. So instead of launch my website, you want to set a milestone like week 1, I'm going to purchase a domain. Or instead of learn piano, you can say week 1, I'm going to research maybe a class or getting a personal tutor. Week 2, I'm going to make a decision and actually pay for the class or the tutor. Week 3, I'm going to start taking lessons. And then maybe week 4, I'm going to learn my first notes or whatever they do in piano. So every time you hit one of those smaller milestones, you create momentum, right? And that momentum fuels consistency. And suddenly this big scary goal doesn't seem impossible anymore. It just feels like a natural next step. Now, when you skip milestones, you set yourself up for overwhelm and discouragement. However, when you map them out, you give yourself a clear, doable roadmap that makes your side projects and goals sustainable and achievable even with a full-time job. So the final mistake, which is very important and always on the mind, is skipping systems and accountability and relying on motivation alone. So let's be honest, right? Motivation feels amazing when it's there. So you wake up inspired, you binge a productivity podcast, and suddenly you are ready to take on the world. But here's the problem. Motivation is a spark and not an engine. It gets you started, but it will not keep you going, unfortunately. And this right here is where so many people get stuck. They rely on those bursts of motivation to push their projects forward, where they're only working when they feel like it. And because life with a full-time job is almost always unpredictable, that feel like it moment almost always never shows up. And the result, you have inconsistent progress, you have constant guilt, and you have a cycle of starting over every single week, right? I used to feel like, or I used to think that motivation was all I needed. I'll get inspired, write out this massive to-do list for my side project, and I'll actually crush it for like 3 days. And then the week will get busy, work deadlines are going to pile up, and then my side project goals will collect dust until the next wave of motivation pops up. Now, it wasn't until I finally built systems, like planning my week and tracking just 3 key priorities and actually focusing on one thing at a time, that I started seeing real progress. And the crazy part, it really did not matter if I was feeling it or not, right? My systems carried me through the days when motivation was really nowhere to be found. And that is when I realized that motivation might light the fire. However, systems are what keep your side projects and personal goals moving even on the days when you're tired, stressed, and uninspired. For example, a planning system that helps you really understand and prioritize what matters this week instead of you just winging it. A tracking and accountability system so you can actually see your progress and stay encouraged. It is what keeps you on track. When your brain kind of wants you to skip today or skip the day, be like, okay, you're too tired, you can just skip it. And that accountability is accountability for yourself, you being accountable to yourself. And that accountability might also look like a coach, a mastermind, or even a friend checking in on your progress. And also a reset system that helps you bounce back quickly when life inevitably throws things off track. So motivation is temporary, right? It's not designed to last. When you build systems and have real accountability, your side projects and your personal goals no longer depend on how motivated you feel. It depends on a structure that supports you no matter what. And that's how you create consistency and ultimately results. So setting goals is easy, right? Sticking to them requires clarity, systems, and accountability. Avoid these 5 mistakes and you'll finally start moving from endless planning to real visible progress. Know that you do not have to keep spinning your wheels, setting goals that never stick, and feeling like you're always falling behind. You can finally make consistent progress even with a full-time job. And that is exactly what I help women like you do. And this is from one of my clients. This is verbatim. I used to feel so overwhelmed and inconsistent with my side hustle. But after working with Laura, I'm more organized, less overwhelmed. And I finally have a system that helps me get back on track whenever life throws me off. For the first time, I feel like I'm actually moving forward. So if you're ready for that kind of transformation, I'd like to invite you to book a free clarity call with me and see how we can work together to help you build your side projects with clarity and confidence. So the link to book a call is down below in the description box or the comment section. I'd love to meet you and help you move forward from overwhelmed to organized when it comes to you achieving your side project or your personal goals. Now, before you go, let me know in the comment section which of these 5 mistakes do you find yourself doing often. Please comment below. I'd love to know. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, share with someone who needs a productivity boost, subscribe to this channel for weekly videos, and make sure you watch the video on the screen next, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.